Welcome to Gardening, the third feature of the fourth of the series of webinars for the Clean, Green, and Healthy Tribal Schools initiatives that is scheduled every Wednesday through February the 22nd at this same time. Several of the programs are multi-features, such as the three you're enjoying today. You're joining 128 other guests from communities, tribes, federal and state government agencies, schools, universities, businesses, and Head Start programs. Thank you for your interest in the health of our schools and our communities. I'd like to introduce your speaker, Diane Jourdan. These days, Diane is working with the Oneida Community Health Center in Oneida, Wisconsin, and is studying for her associate's degree in environmental science. For 15 years, she served as the recycling coordinator for her tribe, the Oneida Tribe of Indians of Wisconsin. During that time, she participated in a school composting and gardening project at a tribal school in her community sponsored by a Learn and Serve America grant. There she worked with, with science, language, math teachers, students, cannery workers, parents, and grandparents. As we said earlier, Diane likes worms. Before Diane gives you the answer, will you respond to this question about gardening by selecting and clicking on the answer you prefer? After everyone has indicated your choices, I will share the results with you. So here's the poll. What are the important steps for creating a school garden? Split votes here, Diane. All right, the vote is slowing down, so I'll close the poll and share the results with you. So Diane, you may have something to say about this after your presentation. We'll hide the results and continue with our program. Diane will discuss the value of gardening at school, what to consider, and how to garden smart. Diane?
Saguli, Diane Jourdan Yilgetz, Onyat Ag. I am Diane Jourdan, and I am Oneida. The purpose of this presentation is to provide professionals with a resource that will encourage them to initiate gardening projects in tribal and other schools. You will learn important steps in introducing a garden at school and how a garden can provide educational opportunities and benefit children and the larger community. There was a time that if you didn't garden, you didn't live. But with grocery stores so abundant, many people, especially our children, have little experience with how plants grow, develop, and produce food. In the last program, we discussed how to grow healthy soil and gardens that can be a beneficiary of that rich compost that we prepared. Gardens are also good for the earth. Plants not only thrive on soil, but they also feed it. Microorganisms congregate around their roots. These microorganisms contribute to the cycle that maintains healthy soil. Schools with the most successful gardens are those that involve family and community members. It is a place to teach and learn about good nutrition and to teach life skills. Students, teachers, staff, and visitors share in the progress of developing edibles. Children grow with the garden, and there is the opportunity for the school and community to grow closer with the garden. In Indian country, we all know elders and children are an important component in our circle of life. When the Oneida Nation Elementary School Gardening Program evolved, our elders were of particular help during the planting and growing season of our school garden, all the way through the harvest and finally to the harvest dinner. We included students in kindergarten through 6th grades to work with our elders, especially at the end when everyone got together at the Jinhinquil farm to prepare the corn. Everyone sat in circles husking the corn, preparing some of the cobs for drying, and using some husks to make corn husk dolls. One elder in particular taught the children to make the corn husk dolls. Another elder, who worked in our community cannery, showed the kids how to make corn soup and showed the classes how to store the corn soup for winter. Smart gardening can teach sustainable gardening methods such as organic and chemical-free methods. Participating in the planning, preparation, planting, care, and harvesting of the garden can provide a meaningful social experience, even an intergenerational and community-rich experience. An appreciation for care of the environment can be nurtured by choosing plants suitable to your climate, building healthy soil, collecting rainwater for the plants, and learning what insects are helpful, for example. The attention to child obesity reminds us that education about nutrition is the key to the physical and mental health of our children. Even a small garden can be used to educate about healthy eating. A garden can provide a resource for teaching and learning in many school subjects. During the question and answer period, I would like to hear from our participants some of the ways you could use the garden to enrich your school subjects and to teach life skills. Please type your ideas into the question box or raise your hand to talk with me during the question and answer period. I've suggested that having a school garden contributes to children, staff, school as a whole, and to the community. If you are considering having a school garden, find out if others think that a garden will benefit the school. These decisions will help you to learn whether you have support, and it will generate interest. There are decisions and commitments that have to be made before the soil is tilled for seeds or seedlings. Questions that need to be answered are, where will the garden be? What size and what will you grow? Who will be responsible for the garden? What training and methods do we need? What will students, teachers, staff, parents, and community members do? And what materials and tools are needed, and what are the costs? If there is support, move to the next steps, planning and executing. Since a school garden affects the school grounds and the current ecosystem, and its location must consider sunshine and drainage. Community members and local gardeners, agricultural services such as university extension offices, school and community nutritionists, and other helpers such as grocers, doctors, conservationists, water providers, farmers, and ranchers may have something to contribute and will be a resource to your garden. Choose crops that fit local conditions. Match the local traditions and food habits. Have high nutritional value, contribute to food security, and that can be cultivated during the school term, or that arrangements can be made to care for the garden when school is not in session. For most Native people, what we call the Three Sisters are plants that are traditional and life-sustaining. The combination creates a complete protein and might be included in the school gardens. For the Oneida Nation and for many other nations across the country, these are corn, beans, and squash. Sunflowers attract pollinators, and both they and corn stalks provide shade for roots and a place for climbing vines. Can you think of other plants that could be added to the garden? Type in your answers in the question box at the right-hand side of your screen.
So Diane, I don't see anybody typing in answers. Has anyone got an answer for that one? I guess we will have to go on.
No? Okay. No. Okay.
So, you know, some of those answers could be pumpkins, sunflower, wild rice, potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, peanuts, avocados.
Radishes?
Yes,
herbs?
radishes. Yes, herbs.
So there's Oh, there's an abundance of plants that you can use, and that is natural to your area. In closing, here are some tips for smart gardening. Use less water by adding mulch and planting in patterns to conserve moisture. Use low flow and ground level watering systems and water only in the evening. Use close plant spacing to get more plants in the bed. Include plants that shade roots and inhibit weeds, such as corn stalks. Use compost instead of commercial fertilizer. With thoughtful planning, a garden can be not just one, but a collection of mini ecosystems. Yanko.
So Diane has included some of the references and resources that she uses. These will be available with copies of the webinar. And the address again is www.epa.gov/region8/tribal schools. Thank you, Diane. We'll get to your questions next, but we hope that Diane's presentation on gardening has added to or refreshed your knowledge of the issue. After this poll, your questions, and a brief announcement, Diane, Virginia, and I will remain on the line to answer your questions. So here is the next poll. Let's see how you do. What steps are important for initiating a garden? So let's see, what steps are important for creating a school garden? Diane, you're going to be interested in this. A lot of a split decision here.
Oh, wow.
So, all right. So we'll close the poll and share the results with you. Diane, do you have anything to comment about this? Isn't that interesting?
That is awesome.
Uh-huh.
That is phenomenal.
So how are people doing? You think they?
Yeah, I think they got it. If they're not doing it now, they really caught on really quickly.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Diane, very much. Let's see if anybody has questions. I know that we're a little bit over time here, and somebody here has recommended, they did recommend something, watermelon and onions is a suggestion from Andrea. Mansell says, you can teach lots of good science through a garden.
Oh, definitely. Anything else?
Well, somebody says, how about roots? I know it is difficult to grow roots outside of, and unfortunately that's blocked from me. Rebecca, can you see the rest of that one? How about roots? It's difficult to grow roots outside.
I don't see that either.
I see it. It says outside of natural areas.
Ah, okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to hide the results of that poll and get us back to the questions. Thank you, Matthew. That was Matthew Langenfeld. You saw his picture earlier. Any other questions or comments? Here's another one. Do you see this one, Rebecca, or shall I bring it up?
I do see one. Mark Shaw is asking what ratio you recommend for the browns and greens. He's heard that browns and greens, that it should be a 3-to-1 ratio with the browns and greens.
Yes, well, for greens to browns. You want the greens to contain the moisture, and you want the browns to kind of separate and to aerate between the heavier, wetter grasses that you put in and the food. So it kind of, the greens will decompose faster. So you want them to be in there and aerating and keep it kind of fluffy, so the dry stuff will keep everything kind of fluffy and moving, and the air moving around in it, so it cooks up real nice.
Sounds like a menu.
It is.
So John, who has had some things to say before. John, I've unmuted you. Would you like to speak directly to Diane?
Yes, I would. In fact, I've been up to Oneida and I had a chance to go out there and see some of those things. In fact, our school right now, we've been doing planting with our traditional crops, and we use our traditional plants and even the heirloom traditional plants too. We have composting bins set up. We even wrote a textbook on mathematics based on our seasonal activities that match our state standard, and gardening is one of the biggest ones that's in it. And right now we even have textbooks all the way from the gardening all the way up to the food preservation to the seed saving. And we have 2 composting bins, and even our shop students are building the roller type bins for the kitchen that will be able to take them out, so they're involved in that. The students built our bins. And then we have the tools and equipment. We have 4 gardens here right now, and then there is 2 greenhouses that are here at our school that are going to be put up by the students this next spring. The elders wanted to get involved, so they asked if we could have raised beds. So we're in the greenhouses. We're putting raised beds. In fact, a lot of the recycling supplies have been ordered for our kitchen. So we're going to take 1 week after the bins are done, and this is going to kind of be a public and a reservation-wide where people can come over and see it. And we'll be right in the kitchen, and we'll be teaching the students and the staff how to do this composting. We'll be there all week doing this coming up. Hopefully the bins will be done by this next month. So, in fact, the students are even getting involved in solar, and they're learning about hooking up solar panels and solar chargers and stuff to be able to extend the growing season at our school.
John, you've had some great contributions during our 3 presentations. Would you be willing to give people your name and a contact number? It sounds like that if you're willing, you could be a great resource to our participants.
Yes, yes, I would. I will give them my contact number, and it's John Parmenter, and I'm at the Buganageeshig School. And I'll give you my 2 phone numbers. My cell phone is 218-256-1414, and my direct number is 218-665-3020. And right now, there's a lot of things that are going on, with our reservation that I think is very positive. In fact, we developed a full curriculum map for our seasonal activities, plus our gardening, and we do have a math book now that's available for our seasonal activities for our Ojibwe culture right here, and there's 4 different books, 1 for each one of the seasons, and it matches our state standards.
Wow,
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Thank you, and thanks for sharing that information, John. I think that you might become a resource to many people who are interested in composting, gardening, and recycling, reusing, and waste reduction. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Our Clean, Green, and Healthy Tribal Schools Initiative will be sponsoring a 2-day workshop, if you had fun with this, in July or June this year. The workshop will include some of the programs featured in this series as well as some additional topics. Participants at that time will have opportunities, mute John here, will have opportunities to meet with the presenters and also co-participants in person. Please let us know if you might be interested in attending. These 3 programs and 8 other webinars on topics such as integrated pest management and energy conservation will be housed and available at http://www.epa.gov/region8/tribal schools. And as we promised you, Virginia, Diane, and I will remain on the line to answer any additional questions you may have. For those of you who stayed with us even after the 5 o'clock hour Mountain Standard Time, and we know for some of you that was 6 o'clock and even 7 o'clock, please let us know if you'd like to talk with us. We'd be glad to open up your microphone and have a dialogue with you at this time. Virginia and Diane are on. Let me be sure that they are unmuted so we can all speak with you. Diane, you're unmuted. Virginia, you're unmuted. All right. Any participants would like to have a conversation with Diane, a question for Diane or for Virginia?
Thank you, Carolina.
And Rebecca, we're looking at the question and answers and we're scoping this. So any last, so the two of the presenters, Virginia or Diane, any last comments since I don't see any, I think John has, John, did you have another comment to make? Let me just check.
fact,
John, did you have another comment to make?
Yeah, in fact, you know, this being able to go up and see, you know, the Oneida, like the turtle school up there. I had a chance to go up there for 3 days, and I was able to see, you know, how they were doing some of these things, and you know, with the cannery, I was able to go into their school and see how they were involving the students. And in fact, I even had a chance to go over to the store, and I mean, I went up there, and I was recommended, you know, when we were starting these things, to go up and see some things. So that's where I went up there, and I spent 3 days, you know, going over these things and going into their school and learning how a lot of these things are being developed. And I think this is really, I'd like to really compliment them on, you know, a job well done.
Thank you very well.
I thank you for my nation. We also had so much help with our Junhinqua farms, and while I was working up there, I worked with my niece. Well, actually, she had asked me about the paper that was being shredded after the business offices got through with their paper. They were shredding it, and she had mentioned to me once, many years ago, well, we're paying to get this stuff hauled away. Why? And I said, well, I've been trying to get it implemented into the farming project. We have a farm where we raise beef cattle and buffalo, and I had asked, why don't we use it, because it's all soy-based inks. Why don't we take that shredded paper and put it in as bedding, and then it can go out with the manure, even the stuff that isn't used for bedding, and mix it up with the manure and spread it on the fields, and that would be a natural composting. But things didn't happen the way I wanted it to. But what she did was she went ahead and she took the initiative to go to the farm, which maybe I should have done it, but I didn't, and she did, and I'm so proud of her for that. She went to the farm and she talked to the director at the farm. The farm said, sure, we'll take it. If we can save money on bedding, yeah, we'll take it. And so they did, and they started, about 10 years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago now, taking the shredding from our business offices, putting it and using it as bedding for the cattle, and then it goes out into the field. It's worked into the field, and it breaks up the soil. It's a natural composter. It's a natural brown. It replenishes and it feeds the critters. So, you know, just working with people and networking with people in all the different areas, everybody does their little bit. Everybody out here does their little bit, and I'm sure that's other reservations too. Everybody does their little bit and finds a way to make it better for the whole circle.
Thank you. Virginia?
Yeah, if I can add something.
Thank you.
I like Diane's example because it illustrates that everyone can get involved and do something in these projects that's meaningful to them. And that's my main message today, is that you can find a project that'll work for your school, and with collaboration and teamwork you can do anything.
Thank you, Virginia.
Exactly.
And you talked about paper as well, so it sounds like that there's an overlap there for sure. Well, we'd like to thank all of the presenters and also our participants today for participating in our webinar. Thank you so much for being a part of recycling, composting, and gardening. We'd love to hear from you if you put any of these ideas into practice in your schools. I know that Diane, and it sounds like John Parmenter, has also become a resource, and Virginia Till. Please let us know if we can give you additional information or support your efforts in any way. Remember that the webinars will be available at the EPA address I've given you several times, epa.gov/region8/tribal schools. And you'll all be getting some communication from us at the end of this program with some follow-up information for you. And thank you again. Thank you, presenters, very much for your participation. And all of our guests, please have a very nice evening and good night all.